So there's a lot of conversations going on right now about the H-1B visa system here in the United States. I worked out in Silicon Valley for over a decade. I got to see a lot of the hiring practices firsthand, worked with a lot of people at various companies, had their own stories. Um, I can only speak about this in terms of the tech sector and how they use the H-1B visa, but in general, I believe it is one of the biggest scams that uh, people have kind of tricked people into believing. And I want to go over why I believe that and why I genuinely hate a lot of the discourse that's going on online about this subject. So my name's Ojiro. I'm a game developer. This isn't really a game development topic that I would like to cover, but I I hate this subject so much, and since it's in the news, I wanted to talk about it just to give my perspective and hear from some of you that are also in the United States on if you have these similar issues either in technology or in your various fields to see if this is something that's isolated to technology where it's I believe it's really bad, um, or if it's an issue kind of in everyone's sector. So first off, for H-1B stuff, when you want to hire someone on an H-1B visa, you're required to post the job listing in places like where you would post your regular work things to be like these are workers' rights. So I got into the habit over the years of looking over all of these papers where it was like, oh, we want to hire this person on an H-1B. Half of the postings that I would see were consistently about half of what those positions should be paying to ensure that Americans did not apply for those jobs. One of the most egregious I ever saw was a principal software engineer. And to give you an idea of like escalation, you start out as a junior software engineer or a junior programmer or whatever you want to call that. You drop the junior title and you're just like a programmer or software engineer, software developer, become a senior software engineer. And then if you stay on the individual contributor path where you don't have people that you're managing, you become a principal engineer. Very, you need a lot of experience for this position. It generally pays really well. There's this principal software engineer position up. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, okay, this should be going for like 150K for salary. They were offering $70,000 for it because they didn't want to hire people that were Americans at market rate. They were like, wow, that's a lot of money to hire someone and pay them a living salary. Why don't we put this position up and make it so that Americans will not take the position? So we get to complain to the government and say, oh, no, we can't fill the spots. There's just not the talent here in the United States. We see a lot of people online right now that are talking, I believe, out of their ass, where they're insisting that there's no talent for a lot of these positions here in the United States to fill these jobs. So I want to go over a few things. First off, let's look at there's this group, American First Insights. They collected data from a website that collects salary information from H-1B jobs, and these are median pay versus what they're paying for H-1B visa holders for different job titles, with the most egregious being a technical lead where the median pay is 189,000, but the H-1B holders are getting half of that. So another software engineer, you're looking at 20% less for an H-1B. Java developer, Java is a very common language that a lot of people develop in. People in the United States don't want to develop in it, and if they do, they want to be paid for it. Whereas if they're like, oh, well, let's just give it to someone that's not a citizen, we don't have to worry about the market rate. We don't have to worry about interacting with the job, the labor market. And they're just like, we'll just hire an H-1B visa holder. So they're making 40% less. And there is one exception here, two exceptions: data scientist and hardware engineer, where it's slightly more for H-1B holders from the data that they looked at. Same for that's a project manager down there. I covered a little bit of it here. I don't know if I can fix it that easy. But generally, a lot of these are consistently lower across the board by 10 to 20%. And it's strategic from these for these companies. They put these positions up and they're like, we're going to pay under market rate so that even if someone applies to the job and they go through the interview process, they waste all their time doing this, they get an offer that they can't accept, especially for senior positions where they expect a living salary. Because if you're in a senior spot, a lot of them have families they need to support, especially in like maybe not so much in the Bay Area. Bay Area is not family friendly, but other big tech hubs where if you are taking a senior position or a principal position, uh, you expect a salary that is able to support like your wife and your kids. So this is all just strategic. There's no thing here where they're like, oh, we don't have the people in the United States to accept the positions. These are companies that are making a business decision to say, I want to cut labor costs. And I want to do that by engineering a way where I have to look for H-1B visa holders because it's they're just not being honest. Like if they were at least saying, "Hey, we do it because it's cheap labor," I could understand that. But these places are like, "No, these are some of like the smartest people from these countries." So let's take a look at Tesla really fast. So H-1B salary database. This is just for 2024. These as Musk is like, oh, I need the H-1B visa system. Like, I'm going to fight to the death over this. It's the greatest. These are associate positions. These are entry-level positions. And he's insisting that he cannot find Americans that are willing to accept entry-level positions at his company. Associate data engineers. These are spots where you could have college students that are good come in and take over these positions. But no, it has to be sent out to an immigrant to come in on a visa and fill the role. There are some more senior associate positions here, but most of these are pretty much just entry level, where you don't have to have a lot of experience, if any experience, to take these positions. So this conversation that we're having right now on social media, that's a huge mess. You've got one side, the Musk folks, and you guys have some business folks and a lot of Indians that are like, no, they're all getting hired for talent, and it's because they were the top 1%, and this country's nothing without immigration. And on the other side, there are genuinely people that are racist, that are running their mouths, which is unfortunate. I hate racism. It's such a waste. We have the ability to colonize the stars, and people are still getting butthurt over the color of people's skin. It's super stupid. But in between that, like, you got people that are just like, hey, I don't think this is appropriate. And the response that people are getting is, well, that means you're racist. Now, for those of you that have been on the channel or have that have followed any kind of movies or games, like at this point, we've been called racists and sexists and whatever phobe for years because the stuff we've been shoveled from the entertainment industry has been pure garbage. So we're used to it, but it's still unfortunate to see this whole new realm where it's like, hey, I don't think Tesla, the most profitable, I don't know if it's the most profitable, it's an immensely successful business. I don't see how you are like, I can't hire these people. I need to hire immigrants for these spots. Now, I saw this amazing post by a professor of computer science at UC Berkeley. I'm just going to read the whole thing for you guys to give you an example of the job market that a lot of new graduates here in the United States are having to deal with. Tech degrees no longer guarantee a job. This Wall Street Journal article is filled with unfortunate anecdotes. Lately, I'm hearing similar narratives from students. Previously, a Berkeley computer science graduate, even if not a top student, would receive multiple appealing job offers in terms of work type, location, salary, and employer. However, outstanding students like those with a 4.0 in major GPA are now contacting me worried because they have 0 offers. I suspect this trend is irreversible and likely part of the broader trend impacting almost every employment sector. I hate to say this, but a person starting their degree today may find themselves graduating 4 years from now into a world with very limited employment options. Add to that the growing number of people losing their employment, and it should be crystal clear that a serious problem is on the horizon. We should be doing something about it today. So we've got all these people, like, I'm not a huge fan of a lot of these fancy colleges because I've worked with a lot of people from Berkeley, from Stanford, MIT, and like about 75% of them are fucking worthless. They come out of college, they think they're special, but you do have some that come out of these places that are great. Also, this doesn't apply to the doctors and lawyers. I feel like those people kind of get beat down into them where they're like, you're not special, you need experience. But when it comes to software engineers are generally pretty good. I think most of what I've dealt with where I hate the people are product folks that think they're special. But, you know, you've got these people that are genuinely pretty good. And yeah, some of them suck. But you're looking at people where on paper, he's saying they've got 4.0 in major. I'm pointing to my second monitor, which is what's on display here. You've got people that have these amazing credentials on paper that are saying, I can't get a job. And then you've got these assholes like Elon Musk that are saying, oh, I can't find anybody. I need to hire entry-level positions from foreigners. It is a lie. This concept that we are bringing in these amazing individuals from overseas to fill these positions and they can't be filled. And, oh, look, like it's nonsense. I don't appreciate people saying things that are just obvious lies. The system has been abused by the tech sector for as long as I have been in the Bay Area, which is over like 13 years. Oh, I left like a year ago because I fucking hated that place. But yeah, it's not just Tesla. Like you've got Blizzard here. You've got, let's look for a word, associate. Oh, you're telling me you can't find an associate game producer that wants to work in the games industry, associate game designer? We have had 20,000 layoffs in the past 2 years, and you're telling me you couldn't find any of these positions. You couldn't find a senior artist, a senior concept artist, a senior software engineer. This idea that tech is like, oh no, their people aren't here. I need to bring in immigrants because no, they don't want to engage in the job market in the United States. They don't want to pay higher salaries. So what they do is they engage in a system where the government subsidizes these companies by providing them low-wage workers. That's all it is. There's nothing special about it. Do you think there's something special about a basic bitch software engineer that needs to be brought in from overseas? Do you know where the best software engineers are in the world? They're in the United States of America. I have never looked at another country on this earth and said, you know what? I need engineers from that country because Americans are the fucking best in the world. If I want someone to dive into a problem, really understand it and fix it, I send it off to American. If I want something where I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a bunch of busy bitch work, I need to get it done, I'll send it overseas. Because a lot of overseas engineers that you contract with in the games industry are fucking morons. There's no way around it. I have worked with so many people from so many different countries, and there are exceptions. There's always exceptions. There's amazing engineers in every country. Well, I've worked with them in Latin America. It's like Eastern Europe. Western Europe's kind of a joke. I'm sorry for the Western Europeans. In Asia, there's so many people that are good as individuals. But if I'm looking at people in a broad brush, I'm not like, oh, wow, I really need these amazing engineers from any other country. The amazing engineers are here. It's all about problem solving and diving into things and understanding concepts. And you do not beat an American worker when it comes to software engineers. So this horse shit that's being thrown around where people are insisting in the tech sector, No, the people aren't here. We don't have there's nobody in the world that can solve this problem except for some random immigrant to come in on an H-1B visa is pure bullshit. Like, yeah, we got Activision Blizzard. They're like, oh, I need senior machine learning engineers, staff software engineers. You can't find a staff software. So, I really like the title of staff engineers. Just to explain this to you, because I was talking earlier about like how senior to principal. Staff software engineer generally is someone that is basically a principal engineer or more senior engineer, but you could also count on them to lead teams. So it kind of gets rid of the idea of a lead software engineer, which I hate those titles, because if you lose your team, generally people are like, well, just lay that position off. You're telling me in Foster City is right there in the Bay Area. It's in it's technically not in Silicon Valley, because Silicon Valley ends at like, oh, does it end in Redwood City? It's not technically not Silicon Valley, but it's close enough. It's there. You've got the best engineers in the world. You have so much innovation in that area, and you're telling me you can't find a senior engineer and you need to bring it in from overseas? That's bullshit. You're telling me you can't find a senior data analyst for San Francisco, where San Francisco has so many fucking data analysts? That's horseshit. This is all bullshit. This whole conversation in the tech industry where they're just saying, well, we don't have the people. It's all a lie. They're doing this so that they don't engage in the job market and pay people a good rate. And we are in a situation right now where we have a lot of people in tech in the United States that are having issue finding jobs, but we have all these companies that are insisting hand over fist, like, oh no, they're not there. I don't see them. No, there's no people. Whoop, I better hire from another country. It's all a fucking lie. I fucking hate it. Is there anything else I want to talk about here? Oh, a couple things. Look at this. Just last year, Apple has to settle $25 million because they are prioritizing hiring immigrants instead of U.S. citizens. 2021, Facebook settles because they are discriminating against U.S. workers for immigrants. And the reason why these hit the news is because they're big and it becomes systemic. But there are smaller places that do this shit there in the Bay Area and in tech in general, and they just get away with it because they're not that big. This whole conversation right now online, the whole gist of it, and at least in the tech side of things, is just you have tech companies that are abusing the system. That there's no other way to put it. It's pure abuse of the system. And they have this thing where they're like, oh, well, if you don't like the H-1B visa system, you hate immigrants. And it's like, no, this whole system was there to bring in the best of the best. And you cannot tell me associate fucking everything on this list is an entry-level position. We have a lot of people looking for jobs here in the United States. And you're telling me that Tesla can't find fucking people? No. All of these companies that are saying this, where they insist, oh, no, they don't exist. It's just a lie. They're trying to get around the fact that they don't want to pay market rate for positions. It keeps the cost of their headcount down, because headcount is such a huge issue for all these companies. And, well, if I have to pay a software engineer in the Bay Area a market rate so that they can support their families in one of the highest cost of living places in the world, I don't want to do that. Let me bring in some immigrants instead. How do I do that? I set the salary artificially low so that no Americans take the position. I get to complain to the government and say, oh no, the workers don't exist. I hate this subject. I hate this program. I don't think tech should have access to the H-1B visa system at all. With the amount of abuse that we see, at least in this sector, it makes me so mad. It's made me so mad for years. And to see online people running their mouths, insisting that, oh no, this only gets the most exceptional individuals that have ever existed in the world. Motherfucker, you're not exceptional if you're coming into the country to be an associate anything. You're there to replace an American. Don't fucking lie to me and then tell me that I'm, whatever kind of name you want to call me, or calling a spade a spade. Everyone that is looking at this from a rational point of view can see there are abuses that are going on in the system. And it's particularly acute amongst tech because a lot of tech is complex. And because it's complex, they'll go to Congress and they'll be like, oh no, you don't understand. And then they just throw fucking buzzwords at them. And they're like, I don't understand any of those words. Sure, I'll increase the quota of H-1B visas that come into the country every year. No, if we're having hiring issues in the United States and we've got a bunch of our workforce that we can't utilize, like they're like, I can't find positions, we should lower the quota for H-1B like entries every year. I don't see a problem with that. This idea, like, and people have pointed out some companies where they're like, oh, this company brought in 7,000 H-1B visas so that they can be like a contracting firm, or someone's like, oh, I need this job done. I don't want to hire a worker, so let me engage in this firm. The abuse is so rampant in tech. I hate it with a passion. I don't want to talk on this subject anymore. This makes me so mad. This whole subject is infuriating to me. But I'd love to hear from some of you if you guys have had any interactions with it, your sectors, on if it's something that you see an issue there, because this may just be an issue with tech. I don't know how it is with medical. I hear some people that insist that it's really hard to find certain specialist surgeons to come into rural hospitals, and America's huge. Like, you could fit basically all of Europe into Texas. I mean, you may have to squish it a bit, but like most of it fits. Like, we're so large. So I could totally understand if, like, in the medical field, it's really key for them. But in tech, it's a scam. But that's all I got to talk about for this right now. I got pretty heated there. I have very strong feelings on this subject. I'm gonna try and move things back to games from the future. I wanted to share my perspective on this because I've had experiences in the Bay Area with it and seeing how it affects everyone, and it does not affect people in a positive light. I should put this out there. I've worked with a lot of H-1B visa holders, and a lot of them are really good at what they do. Like, it's not that people that come in H-1B visas on in tech are all bad. So I don't want to give that, like, in case I had given that impression, that is not the case. I've worked with a lot of really great people that have come in on those programs. Some not so much. But in general, a lot of these spots, dude, it's such a scam. But that's all I got to talk about today. Thanks for listening to me get super angry about this. And subscribe if you want games-related content. We'll be moving back to that again. And yeah, thank you for your time. Farewell.